All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Bob Black. I'm the Division Vice President for the Multi-Industry Division at Action. Luke Waller is going to be our presenter today. He's one of our application consultants that specializes in the Acumatica space, and where he's going to take us through a topic today, to talk about fixed assets. This is, something we're trying to give back to our customers. It's just kind of trying to introduce a module maybe you haven't seen yet. Maybe you're starting to use it. Maybe you're already using it. But it's just an opportunity to kind of see what a new module might look like. We do try and give back, and Luke's available to help out if you need help in these areas. But there's no pressure to reach out or anything. If you'd like to, if you need some help with one of these modules, your sales rep or the practice manager Jennifer or myself would all be happy to help you as well. Next slide, please, Luke. We have just a few slides, really short, maybe five minutes or so, just kind of going over a few details. We've got a few things happening we want to kind of share with you. We do offer support. You as one of an Action customer, or we're ready to support you, whenever you need that support. We do offer support agreements, which is an option, also not required. You can get support no matter what you're doing. So, with or without an agreement, we can still support you. We have a hotline, dedicated hotline staff that's going to come and that's available to help you. You as an Acumatica customer come in and you go to the Acumatica queue, and then one of our consultants is on the queue each day of the week, and then they'll take care of you. Next slide, please. I always like to remind people about the Acumatica community. Being an Acumatica customer, you've got access to the community. It's a great place to keep in touch with news, with new releases, which we do have one coming out fairly soon. It's a great place to get education. It's a great place to log support cases directly with Acumatica. If you have anything that's direct, that goes direct to them that we can't help you with, those are all options for the community. It's just a great site. Just a friendly reminder that it's out there. Next slide, please. Just another reminder that there is a new release coming out. There is a schedule. There is a beginning, a middle, and an end to the life of each of these releases of Acumatica. It is a march forward in the subscription world. We're going to keep you marching forward as when it makes sense. There's one of the unique things about Acumatica, you don't have to upgrade every time, but you can skip one if you need to, but there is an end of life coming fairly quickly, within a couple years of every single release. So, and there's so much benefits and features, so many new additional features and functions going into new releases. It just makes sense to keep up with them. We do have a 22 R2 release that's coming out, I think, in sometime in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I don't have the exact date. I should know that date, but I don't have it on the tip of my tongue. So just know that that's coming. There's a product rollout. I think you can sign up for it to kind of learn about some of the new features and functions, along with breakouts for construction, distribution, manufacturing, field service. Those are all breakout options, also to kind of learn in more detail what's happening in each of those different areas. Next slide. And with that, we want to introduce you to Luke Waller. Luke's going to take it from here. He's got a few talking points to go over, and then he's going to dive in and show you around the fixed asset module for Acumatica.
Hey everyone, as Bob mentioned, my name is Luke Waller. I'm an application consultant with Acumatica, and I work closely in the fixed asset module. And today, I'd like to walk you through a few of the high points of the module. And show you the functionality there and the ease of process and the information that you can store in the module, as well as calculating depreciation, the multiple ways that you can track an asset, disposing an asset, and a few of the reports. So with that, let me bring up Acumatica. Okay, so here's the fixed asset module, and as you'll see, it's broken out pretty cleanly. Uh, the profiles, processes, inquiries that you can slice and dice your information from, the reports, and the preferences where you can set up and adjust the workflows of your asset. So here's the fixed asset profile. And the clean part about this is all your information is going to be stored right here in the general tab, or in across any of these main tabs. You can come in at any time and see the balance, the depreciation history of any individual asset. So here in the general tab, in Acumatica, the majority of our processes are driven by classes, and that serves two functions. Number one, for easy to enter things, and as well as to be able to divide things for reporting purposes. So you'll see in Acumatica in the demo company, they have a number of classes set up, and we'll take a closer look at computers, for example. And here you define the type. You can define whether it's a depreciable asset or whether you just have it for tracking um, the useful life, which can be overridden on any individual asset. But when you choose the class, this is going to fill in automatically. The depreciation tab, you'll see in Acumatica, in the demo company, they have multiple books, which allows for depreciation to be recorded in multiple different ways. Say if you have a tax book where you are tracking your assets on a tax depreciation basis for that you only use come around tax time, or if you have a statistical book where you'd like to theoretically track in different depreciation methods, just to have that number on hand at any time. So you designate one as a posting book, and that's the one that interacts with your GL at any given time. Whenever you run the depreciation processes or disposals or additions, this book is the one that's going to hit your GL and create that journal entry. The GL accounts. So most classes, whenever we get a new customer, I recommend creating the classes based on your existing fixed asset GL accounts. Just as that's easy, the GL accounts will automatically fill in as soon as you add it into when you're creating a new asset. And you'll see pretty standard, you have your accumulated depreciation accounts. If you break that down by asset class, you can do that here, or depreciation expense accounts as well. You define your gain loss on fixed assets, disposals, then your proceeds account for your income and expense. So as soon as you're in your class, all of this is going to fill in, as well as the GL accounts. And at any time, you can come in and override that and make edits to these if it differs from the class. The tracking info, you'll see anything with the asterisk next to it is a defined field where the information asset has to have that information before it can be released. But you can track your assets by building, by floor, by room, custodian, which pulls from your employee list. So say you have a computer or a truck and you want an employee as the custodian of that, you can add that in here. Tag numbers, which you can turn on or off to be a different sequence number, or you can use this as a field to track for different information if it's different than your asset ID. And you'll see the GL accounts tab, which flows in from the class, but also can be overridden. The balance tab is a favorite among our customers because it displays all the information very cleanly. You have all three books here. When they started depreciating, when they were last depreciated, their original acquisition cost, cumulative depreciation amounts, and net value. And you'll see here you can adjust convention methods, period types, days, any way you want to depreciate your asset. We'll have that here. Components, this is if any of your assets have a parent-child relationship. Say you made a leasehold improvement on a building and you wanted to track those together, and anywhere you can define the asset that has a parent asset, say right here, this would be tracked here. Other info just offers more information that you can include on your assets and track. And these can be also configured in the inquiry reports. You can pull reports based on different information that you pull in here. So details such as receipt type, PO numbers, bill numbers, manufacturers, models, serial numbers, any warranty information. If you have any leased assets, that information can also be tracked here. Condition, just a number of ways to add information that you can continually track your assets. You see the depreciation tab here. It looks a little clunky out of the box, but it actually is contains a lot of information once you get your bearings. Looking at it, you can pull up this by book if you're differentiating your asset in multiple ways. But you'll see here each period, it shows you what was depreciated. So this depreciating column is what hit the books. This calculated column is what Acumatica reads it should be. So for instance, this asset was, we brought in an asset that was already on the books, so we wanted to bring it in with some historical accumulated depreciation attached to that asset without doing a journal entry, just for tracking purposes. So in this first month, when we turned on depreciation or made the asset active, it did a true up number that was different than this calculated number to get the accumulated depreciation to where the system believed it should be on a straight line basis. And then here in this second month that we depreciated, it's going to settle into this calculated cadence and match up going forward. Transactions, this has a history of all transactions that this asset has ever been involved in. I always come to look at this batch number column first, because if it has a batch number, that means it's a transaction that hit the GL. And any additions and adjustments can be made to an asset before it has that GL transaction attached to it. And for that, you can also come in here and search by book, and this will sort this tab to all the posting transactions here. And anywhere there's a hyperlink, you can drill in here and look at it in more detail. And you'll see here's the depreciation entry that was posted to the general ledger. Locations, so anytime you switch, say on the general tab, if I were just to switch the branch or switch department or building, and then I saved and released that transaction, it's going to keep a track of all locations that the history of locations and when it was transferred on this tab. So now I'll walk through a couple of processes and show just how a little task it is to add an asset in Acumatica and how the work it does behind the scenes. So for adding a new asset, we start at the bill, and I've already got this bill entered here. So for example, we're buying a new piece of equipment, a Toro piece of equipment, bills entered. I use inventory ID equipment, which already has this accrual account. That's the one quirk in Acumatica. So if, say, you're entering a bill, you're not going to make the offset to AP, the direct asset account. You want to run it through this accrual account, and it's going to do a reconciliation piece behind the scenes because you could add an asset and not reconcile it to the GL just for tracking purposes, but to connect it to a general or a journal transaction or an AP bill, we run it through this accrual account. So I'll remove this from hold, release it. Come back to the fixed asset module, and you'll see here under processes, convert purchases to fixed assets. And you see we have this account, this accrual account designated here. In the event you have an AP clerk that accidentally codes it to the asset account directly, you can still choose that account here and pull it in. But for ease and just convenience and having all of your transactions run through the same account, Acumatica recommends creating a new fixed asset accrual account to run all the module transactions through. And so you'll see here, this top screen, this top half is all of the unreconciled purchases that are sitting in this accrual account. So we'll choose this one that we just created and we'll add a new asset. And down here, all you have to designate is the class. We'll say fixed asset and machinery. And the department, we'll say construction. Uh-oh. Okay, and we have our asset IDs to auto. They're in a numbering sequence, which you can turn on or off. And you can designate the place and service date here if it differs from the bill, but it's going to bring in the information from the bill here. So we'll click
Hey, Luke.
process. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was trying to find a good spot. Somebody has a quick request / question, and I didn't want you to get too far in there. It says, any chance that you could show an example of adding an asset that's previously been depreciated and posting it so that it would not post to GL?
Yes. Yep, I can do that. I'll do that right after this. Okay. So here, you'll see the transaction process. I have these set to auto release. Now we'll go take a quick look at this asset, and then we'll add an asset that's fully depreciated. So here it is, active asset. All the information came through by the class. See in the reconciliation tab, 0 unreconciled balance. Transactions, here is the journal entry. Okay. All right, and here's the journal entry from that transaction. So was the request to bring in a fully depreciated asset or a partially depreciated asset?
Partially.
Okay. So here, very important, this update GL button in the preferences. When you have this turned off, you can make additions and subtractions and it won't hit the general ledger. But if you need it to hit the general ledger, you turn this on. So we'll turn this on for now. We'll add a new asset. We'll just say it's an old truck. Add in the class. I'll fill in, we need a receipt date. Say this was September 2016. We'll say it was $20,000. Okay. GL accounts come through. Here on your balance tab, this is where you'll enter in how much accumulated depreciation you're bringing in. Okay, so in the posting book, we'll say it's been depreciated 50%. We'll say that for each of them. And it's not going to like that. So let's edit the years. Okay. We will save this. Oh, I'm just going to need a department. And remove the holds. Okay, and so now you have, see, it doesn't have its net value yet. Now let's depreciate this asset. So here we'll calculate depreciation. And you'll see this is what the system recognizes it should be. Okay, let's, oh, on the balance tab. this last depreciation period. This is important. So we're saying we're bringing it in as of '09, 2022. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Now we'll turn this back on. And let's run depreciation just for this asset. Not showing up. See, is it active? Let's see. Oh. Oh, now it won't let me change it. Anyhow, okay. So I think this zeroed out. So you would enter it in here, this $10,000, say if it had any historical depreciation. And then under the depreciation tab, it would come in. So I think I missed a step there. It would come in here and it would be $10,000 right here. It would not hit the GL. And then you would turn the update GL back on. And then when you depreciated it, the posting would start here. But this balance right here would say 10,000. And then it would do a true up entry in the first month and then carry on here on the regular 166 per month. But we do that all the time. A lot of times we'll use import scenarios, which can bring in, hundreds or thousands of assets that are currently active and have a depreciation amount already that's already included in the trial balances you uploaded. So you don't want that accumulated amount to hit the GL. But to add an individual asset, you would do it on this tab, create it here, enter in the last depreciation period, enter in the accumulated amount here. So I missed that step, or this got zeroed out, I think. But that's where you do that.
Awesome. Luke, also, first of all, the person who asked that question and said, thank you, that was wonderful. And yes, so the recording will be shared afterwards. So I'll send this out to all of you so you can tune in and learn from Luke here. The other question was just asking what version of Acumatica you're using right now.
So this current version, this is the newest version, or there's a release coming out this month, 2022 R2. I'm currently on 2022 R1, but I know in the past few releases, there has not been many significant updates to this module specifically. So I've worked in as far back as 2020 R1, and the processes are just about, and the functionality is pretty similar since then. And if you have any individual questions, my email is lwaller@action.com. If you have any unique scenarios that you'd like me to walk through, just reach out to me and I'd be glad to set up a time. And so
Great presentation, Luke. I think thank you very much for putting that together. Murphy's Law, when you're presenting something and you haven't run through it first, there's always something that goes wrong with it. But I think Luke did prove that that does work. As Luke said, we'd be more than happy to follow up with any more specific questions about your any scenarios that you might have, which You know, and this also reminds me of seeing other modules that are kind of integrated to Acumatica. When you've got fixed assets, and CRM is another example, it's already in the same ERP system. You know, it can go and make those updates for you. It can actually do the GL entries for you, where, you know, many times that's done as a separate import or a separate manual entry at some point. So you know, it's always good to see how this end-to-end process works when you've got these things added to it.
Yep. Bob, I wanted to run through just one more point
Sure.
on this calculating depreciation. I know this is a pain point for many people. So you can depreciate your assets by branch, or however different ways you have them segregated, or you could depreciate them individually and you choose your 2 period. So we'll just say September, for example, and you have the choice to calculate only if you want to just run through it and get that number, or depreciate it, and this will release the transaction and post to your GL. Another cool feature of this depreciation module is you can add this to a schedule. Say you're not that active in your fixed assets, and you would come in here once a month to run depreciation to close out your monthly books. You can add this to a schedule where on the first of every month, it will depreciate. It'll go ahead and run this entry to the next period. And so if you're not that active in fixed assets, and you don't want to think about it, you can set it on a schedule and not have to come into this module at all. Another great feature I love about this module is disposing of assets. So you would come into the asset. You can do this on a mass basis if you want to dispose multiple at a time. But if you're disposing just one, you come into these 3 extra dots, click dispose, and you can choose to depreciate or to spend depreciation until your disposal date. Enter your proceeds amount. We'll just say, for example, we sold this truck for $1,000. You choose your disposal method. This one was sold, and you see our proceeds accounts are already designated here from the class. Click OK. What is this? Oh, I think I was in the future. Let's do. Oops, not sure why that was. Let's go to a different one. Okay, and you see here on the transaction, that was it. It does the entire journal entry for you. So here it did the depreciation up to the disposal date, recognized again, removed it from your books, and it does all that transaction for you. So all you do is click dispose, enter proceeds amount, and you're done. And the last thing, I just wanted to run through some of the reporting. So you can pull reporting based on class, department, or branch or book. So we'll run this in here. Anywhere there's a hyperlink, you can drill down directly into it. Acquisition cost, the last month it was depreciated, current cost, and current net value. And then a number of different reports here, depreciation reports, net value reports, list, acquisitions over a certain time period. It's a great reporting function. And then the inquiries is a powerful tool that allows you to slice and dice and kind of create your own reporting based on the information that's in the fixed asset profile. And the preferences here is where you do set up the books, depreciation methods. So out of the box, here are the gap methods that come out of the box, and these can be modified, which is an important note. If you wanted to adjust the multipliers or the years on the default methods, you can do that. And then also for your tax books, here are the depreciation methods out of the box. You see it's got 556 different types. You've got your macros types and all different straight lines that these come from the IRS. So a lot of functionality in this module. It's pretty smooth once you get everything imported and up and running. So yep, that was everything I wanted to cover. Thanks everybody. And again, L Waller at Action if you have any specific questions.
All right, so real quick, Luke, I just had a couple more quick questions that came in. One is, can you track expenses of an asset that aren't capitalized?
Yes, so I think for that scenario, like we covered earlier, you can add a new asset and it just wouldn't be depreciable. So you can turn this box off, whether it's tangible or depreciable. So if you turn off this depreciable box, it's never gonna hit your GL. It's still gonna have a posting book component, but it will never, if it's not depreciable, the depreciation will never hit your GL.
Awesome. And then somebody mentioned that you had a statement about the trial balance in previously depreciated months. And he was just asking if you would repeat that statement again real quick.
So I was speaking towards, so when we bring in historical information into Acumatica, we'll upload it oftentimes by trial balance. So that's going to have your assets month to month in those historical months. So so for instance, if you wanted to go live in Acumatica as of September 1st, and you want to bring in your trial balance activity from January 1st, 2022, we would bring in each month's trial balance, period ending trial balance into Acumatica, and that would already capture all your fixed asset activity. So in that instance, we would want to bring in all of your assets as they are your asset balances and accumulated depreciation balances without hitting the general ledger. So we'd want to bring this in as of 9/2/22 with the accumulated depreciation balance of 9/2022. And it would say the last time it was depreciated was in 8/2022, for instance. So that would get your asset into the system and off and running as of 9/1. If that makes sense.
Thank you. And then the last question is just kind of a broader question asking if the fixed assets is an additional cost or if it's, an add-on module, which I believe it is, correct?
Yes, it is an addition from the base package. Not everybody uses it. As far as pricing, I would let Bob speak to that. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so depending on your license, you would just contact your sales rep, and then they could work with you on that. But yeah, it's optional. It's not required, but it's a great little great additional tool to use within Acumatica if you have fixed assets you're managing.
All right, I think that was the last of the questions. Awesome.
Great.
Presentation, Luke. Thank you so much. Great job. Again, if anybody has any questions or wants follow up, be more than happy to help. If you want to go back to your slide, we can close out. And thanks everyone for attending today, and thanks for your attention, and thanks for signing up. Look for I think our next what's our next month's webinar, Lauren? I think we got these scheduled each month here.
Yeah, you would ask me that, Bob. Escalations, and
Yes.
there's another part of it. I can't remember.
Workflows.
Yeah, maybe it was workflows and escalations.
We're always open to feedback. If there's things that you want to see that you know, that you know, we can contribute to something that either you're curious about or something that's a, you know, challenging area for you. We can, you know, we're always looking for suggestions on new other modules to show. So feel free to give us feedback.
Definitely. And sorry, Luke, was you saying something?
No,
No.
that was me.
Oh, okay. But I was just going to add that just to repeat what I said earlier, I will be sending the recording out to you, and I've made note of the people who've been asking questions, so we can, you know, definitely follow up with you if you need any additional assistance from Luke. So with that, I think I'm going to close this out. Thank you all for joining us, and Bob and Luke, and for your time, and expect to hear from me within a day or so. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.